The skill speed medley, and as we saw with the women, things escalate quickly.
Yes, they do, but they start with just a simple little test of pegboards with your feet. Who knew that was just kind of easy now? the new casual pegboard. And then 75 single unders into the pistols on the left and right leg. It must be unbroken. Single unders and pistols must be unbroken, as well as the handstand walk.
Recipe for success presented by Trifecta. Did anything change after watching the women?
It's got to. I mean, almost a little bit more pressure when it comes to that. And it's adapt or die. Learn how to do this on the fly. If you've never have, what have you been doing? But you've never had, it's time for you to adapt here on the field.
Let's bring in Mike Arsenault down on the floor.
Well, Sean, it is dry here inside the Coliseum. The relief provided by Mother Nature, the extra rest could be beneficial to these athletes. Even though we've seen the pegboard before, this is the first time they'll be doing strict reps, which means their soles of their feet cannot touch the wall. Another wrinkle, typically all implements that are tested in each event are available to the athletes in the warm-up area. Not the case with the pegboards. These athletes will be attacking this cold.
30 seconds, athletes.
First of 4 heats, top 20 men moving on. Tudor Magda, a rookie in lane number 9. You get this kid on his hands.
Yes.
He can move faster on his hands than I think I can on my feet.
I really didn't understand how fast he was until I saw him at the semifinals and the speed at which he has on his hands. And that is a huge weapon, because some of the toughest skills tested outside of the unbrokenness is the handstand walk part.
There is Tudor Magda on his first climb up that pegboard.
This is the quarterfinals for this event. All 40 athletes coming through here. Then we're going to cut the field of play and half.
Red Fakowski in lane number 4. Moving quickly.
Once that is done, they got those 75 single unders, those single leg squats, and of course that handstand walk.
Fakowski knocking out his third climb here. And he is done. Brent Fakowski onto the single unders along with Austin Spencer, Tudor Magda, Heinrich Happelainen. Here comes Travis Mayer, Tim Paulson, and now Colton Mertens.
He said it's so weird to come to a movement that typically in an event you'd be racing other athletes with as far as your cadence and your speed. When it comes to 75 single unders, the focus and attention of speed goes out the window, of just staying smooth and calm. But the pressure as you get closer to 75 mounts tremendously.
Heinrich Happelainen and Austin Spencer done at the same time. Here comes Travis Mayer and now Tim Paulson. 10 reps on the left leg to start, then 10 on the right. Now, if you don't hit depth, you don't have to start back at 0.
Right, a no rep as far as depth or extension is not cause for starting things over again. It's walking outside or stepping outside of the box, or that heel possibly hitting the ground during the movement.
Austin Spencer is the first man onto the handstand walk. Here comes Heinrich Happelainen, and now Brent Fakowski is in third. And Spencer falls. He's got to go back to the beginning. Happelainen and Fakowski fighting for the...
Has not gotten through the single unders yet. One of the best handstand walkers in the men's field.
Just missed again.
Can't even get out of the single unders.
Final seconds here. Tudor Magda isn't going to make it to the handstand.
Athletes, you have 1 minute.
Heinrich Happelainen 2:06.33 seconds. Was in a race with Fakowski, who a couple of years ago had a costly stumble on a handstand walk in 2019.
And for Fakowski to pull a 4th place out after that fall is pretty impressive. But again, we're going off overall time for your top 20, and then a tough no rep for Tim Paulson.
Second of 4 heats, Guy Mayeros.
The thing with Guy is that he's so known, obviously, for his strength and his speed, but he's a very underrated handstand walker. For him, and like we've seen for everybody, there's elements in this test that are having a massive factor different than anything they've been tested with before.
Majero's 7th overall last year. In his second individual appearance at the CrossFit Games, he won 3 events. And he stumbles right off the bat.
Majeros was about halfway up the board and fell off, and that's a product of going too fast. There isn't really a race on the pegboard other than just being smooth and up and down, unbroken. And Majeros just came out of the peg again. He was able to stay up there, so Guy stumbled twice. Most athletes are on their 3rd pegboard. Guy just finished his 1st.
Sam Quant in lane 8 is going to be the next man to the jump rope behind Nick Matthew, who is in lane number 1. Quant is 2nd. Here come Cole Sager, Enrico Zanoni, Guy Majeros,
Now what's
and Guillaume
interesting
Brion.
with Matthew is that he's actually jumping twice on 1 foot. Now I'm not sure how that's going to get counted because he's bouncing.
Breather there as he chips away at 75.
Look, 2 jump, 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't know how that got counted for a 75 because it's got to be what? You can bounce on 1 leg, really. That's all that matters. As long as it's 1 pass the rope, you can do it all on 1 leg if you want to.
Guy Majeros is in 2nd now behind Nick Matthew. Cole Sager and Sam Quant fighting for 3rd, and Guillaume Brion is in 4th. Enrico Zanoni and Keelan Henry are also under the single leg squats.
Yeah, see, Matthew, you can bounce as much as you want. You can use 1 foot, you can alternate. So he's going for 2 bounces on each foot. We haven't seen that technique yet, which threw me off a little bit, but that's good to go.
And now Matthew is through his 21-legged squats. He's onto the handstand walk. Here comes Guy Majeros in 2nd. Guy Majeros is up on the ramp, trying to catch Nick Matthew. Matthew is done. Matthew a somersault, and he is in. Guy Majeros is on his feet. Here comes Guy, and now it's neck and neck between Zanoni and Sager. Sager wins that race, and here comes Sam Quant, looking to lock up 5th place in the heat. Sam Quant, who finished 2nd overall in 2020. Guillaume Brion is in.
And you look at these times, I think these times were still faster.
Less than 30 seconds, athletes.
We saw Fikowski got
Henry.
4th.
Keelan Henry stumbled and immediately grabbed his right hamstring. He's been nursing a bum hamstring for a little while now as Baden Brown is in and Julius Carabas. Nick Matthew at the top time. 2:04.54 seconds. Looking to move on to round number 2.
Yeah, Nick Matthew bringing a crop top and a forward roll to the finish line. Matthew actually just missed out by a single spot at Granite Games, just missed out by a spot in the last chance qualifier, and then got the backfill invite to get him through to the games for the first time.
Heat number 3, Pat Vellner gonna have to dig himself out of another early hole, 20th in event number 1.
I think Pat Vellner is one of your top picks who could win this event. But with the weird quirks that are a part of this, the unbroken single unders, the unbroken walks, the pirouettes, there's some elements in here that, you know, Pat will even joke that he has a tendency to kind of mess up over the years.
3rd of 4 heats here in this opening round is underway. And all the men getting to the top of that first of 3 climbs at about the same time.
Just wild to see the advancement of the sport since 2015 when we first saw pegboards unveiled at Pedal to the Metal in the final event of those games. And now we have athletes casually racing 3 unbroken pegboards with some of the best pegboards tasks still to come.
Right side, bottom right side of your screen in the gray shirt is Dallin Pepper. And Pepper is done along with Udnix Olsen, Alexander Caron, and here comes Will Morad. Alex Vigneault at the top of your screen.
Starts in single unders first. Remember,
And now Saxon Panchik, as all the men are under their single unders, and Pat Vellner with an early trip at the bottom of your screen.
Dallin Pepper. I joked about the DARE team back in elementary school, Sean. Look at the rope that Dallin Pepper has. Do you know why that's in there? It's in there for single unders, and it's in there for crisscross. That is a rope that you can actually utilize to those specific skills.
Uldis Ubnix and Noah Olsen are the first men onto the single leg squats. Here comes Will Morad and Dallin Pepper, along with Alexander Carone towards the top of your screen, as Pat Vellner now just getting to the single-legged squats. Alex Vigno moving on, as well as Jay Crouch. Jason Hopper is there as well. We've Saxon Panchik is the only man on the single unders. He's in the background there behind Dallin Pepper in the black shirt. Noah Olsen is through. Uldis Ubnix is onto his hands. These are the only two men on this portion of the event, and Noah Olsen is going to take heat number 3. Uldis Ubnix looking to lock up a second place finish, and he just got hit with a no rep. Dallin Pepper is now in the lead here. Pepper is across. Pat Vellner is going to take third, just ahead of Will Morad.
A slower heat than the previous one. The previous heat, your top 5 were faster than the first place.
Jake Crouch
this one.
Uldis Ubnix, pardon me, chaser across the finish line. And now Alexander Carone is in. Jason Hopper is across. Saxon Panchik and Alex Vigno left on the competition floor. 20 seconds before we hit the time cap. The Saxon's going to get in inside of that. Vigno will not.
10 seconds.
Execution. A wrinkle from Adrian Bosman. High stakes, high risk, high reward. But on the flip side, massive, massive penalties on not being able to execute the movements themselves with the elements of unbroken. So, all right, Noah Olsen got across, but look at Uldis Ubnix. Watch him cross the line. Both hands must be clear. No, I know what it was. His hand stepped outside the lane. As far as the handstand walks, you have to stay in the white. If the fingers touch the black, it's a no rep.
One heat remains. Overall leader Ricky Gerard will be in lane number 5. Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson will be in lane number 2. Just one of the most consistent male athletes we have seen ever in the sport.
I think he's so unappreciated, even though we do talk about him a lot. The greatest European male athlete to ever grace the sport, and as you said, Sean, one of the greatest ever. He's so strong, so conditioned. He has little holes whatsoever in his game, and gymnastics is one of those strengths.
3 pegboard ascents to start off. Jonakoski in lane 6 is out to an early lead with Lazar Jukic in lane 10.
A lot of the pegboard is about being smooth. You don't want to fumble around with the peg trying to get into the hole. You don't want to get it stuck trying to pull it out too soon. Just a very smooth, methodical pacing. The only issues we've seen with people so far is almost coming off of the pegboard itself, but getting those pegs stuck.
Jukic and Koski are through. Krennikov, Adler, Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson, and now Justin Medeiros is onto the rope. And Ricky Gerard using the same rope that Dallin Pepper did. The same style, at least.
Well, what that does is it actually adds more weight to the rope, Sean. And when you add more weight to the rope, you can feel the rope a little bit better. You don't want a weighted rope for double unders, but what this allows an athlete to do is they can feel that single pass. It's a lot easier to manipulate, and it's a lot easier to control.
Jonakoski and Roman Krennikov, the first 2 men to the single-legged squats. Jeff Adler and Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson are there as well, as is Justin Medeiros, and now Ricky Gerard in the white jersey towards the left side of your screen.
Krennikov got 1 no rep just for extension through the top. Again, you can get a no rep and continue on.
Roman Krennikov, who has qualified for the CrossFit Games every year since 2018, finally getting to compete here in person and also earlier this week met his newborn son for the first time as Jonakoski is onto the handstand portion. Here come Gerard and Medeiros right behind him. They are dead even. They're on the left side of your screen. Koski is in. Medeiros is slightly ahead of Gerard here. Medeiros is through. He's going to take second. Gerard is across in third. And now Lazar Jukic will beat Roman Krennikov in. And here comes Jeff Adler.
There are a lot of times in that low 2 minutes, Sean.
Moritz Fiebig is across, as is Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson.
Gudmundsson is upset.
Spencer Panchik, with less than 30 to go, should be able to get through here. And Willie George, at the bottom of the screen, is trying to get through as well. As Spencer is across with 15 seconds to spare. Willie George has got to get to that yellow line. And he will make it. But Jonakoski takes heat number 4, and now we figure out the top 20 times that will move on to round number 2. Send it down to Mike Arsenault.
Well, guys, the shorter the event, the more important strategy becomes because seconds matter. And Chase, you already alluded to the different ropes that Dallin Pepper and Ricky Gerard used. That heavier beaded rope on round 1. They'll bring it back in round number 3. Interestingly enough, we have the crossover, of course, coming up in round 3, something that has never been utilized before in a CrossFit competition. No one was practicing it in the warm-up area. The prevailing sentiment was you're not really going to learn it in such a limited amount of time. Plus, to get to round 3, you've guaranteed yourself a top 5 position. Anything after that is gravy, so they worried about the other movements rather than worrying about that crossover too early in this event.
I don't know, did you watch the women's final? It seems to matter a bit on that one.
Take a look back over the first 4 heats here as we had a tight race between Heinrich Happelainen and Brent Fikowski, and Fikowski falls late on that handstand walk, and that allowed Heinrich Happelainen to take the win.
And Fikowski got 4th in the heat, but I don't know if his time was fast enough to make the top 20. Heat 2, Nick Matthew. Again, for these single unders, really it's whatever gets the job done. You want to bounce on 2 feet, you want to do them all on 1 leg, all that matters is that it needs to be unbroken.
Nick Matthew takes heat number 2, and then heat number 3 belonged to that man, Noah Olsen.
And Noah Olsen actually made up a lot of his time on the pistols. And obviously we all know how well Noah Olsen can walk on his hands over these obstacles. That's the thing with these obstacles. The obstacles are now nothing new, which is crazy to say, but the advancement as this sport grows, we're going to see the pirouettes on the parallel bars from a press to a handstand. But the big race here went from the single unders to Koski. Was definitely not coasting at the end of this one. So Koski gets the win in 4, but now this is, the thing I love is that they're just taking the top 20 fastest times.
And here they are, Noah Olsen at 1:59.65 seconds. He is your top time. Justin Medeiros will move on, as will Ricky Gerard.
Oh, wow.
Is through. Velder will make it. Brent Fikowski just sneaking in. Only 6/100ths of a second ahead of Colton Mertens. So Mertens the last man into that field of 20. So there's Noah Olsen.
You'll see on the right side, Pepper, who had that beaded rope earlier, is switching it out for his normal rope that he's going to use for the double unders on this.
Brent Fikowski in the black shirt back there, you mentioned back in 2019, had a very costly fall on a handstand walk that probably got him cut earlier than people thought he would be. But he survives this one and moves on to round 2. Only the top 5 times move on to the final round. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the semifinal round of event 3 for the men. We are set for the second of 3 rounds here in event number 3, the second event that the men are doing here on day number 1 of the 2022 Noble CrossFit Games. Semifinal round, the pegboard reps go down, but now they are strict. We have the double unders and the pirouette on the handstand walk.
All right, look at the strict pegboard. Look at pull-ups in general, kipping pull-ups, weighted pull-ups. How often do you train strict? If it's not, you should. The same thing is now being put into play with these strict pegboards. Double unders are double unders, pistols are pistols, but the pirouette into the handstand walk is another advancement on the challenges that athletes should be facing during the off season. Adapt or die goes exactly along with that. Can you adapt on the fly? Are they worried about the press to handstand, or are they going to skip past the crisscross and the double unders? Unbroken or bust is the element that we've seen trip up people in a major way so far in this event.
Recipe for Success presented by Trifecta. The start list for the first of 2 heats here in round number 2. Brent Fikowski, who flirted with disaster in the first round, he will be down in lane number 9.
Definitely not the start Brent has wanted. His place finishing in event number 1. His fall in the first round might be the wake-up call he needs to get back to the Brent Fikowski we know he is.
And you have one of the tallest athletes right next to the shortest athlete in the field, Brent Fikowski, right next to Colton Mertens. The two of them separated by just 6/100ths of a second in round 1.
The men will have to do 2 of the strict pegboards. The women had done 1. And the big test here is just that upper body strength and stamina. The ability to go through this. We talked to some coaches about their athletes coming into this. Caroline Lambre, who is Jeff Adler's coach, said if you haven't been practicing things like this, you've missed the boat. Right? She said specifically is when wall walks were unveiled last year, it opened the door to the past. Right? Strict anything. The big thing is, like, you know, CrossFitters, they're natural kippers, right? It's like fried food. I'm going to take a movement. Can I kip that, right? Can I fry that? Who knows? The opposite should be true. Can you do that strict? How heavy can you do that? Can you do a, you know, whether it's pegboards, toes to bar, rope climbs, how can you make a simple movement easier or more challenging? And you can do that with distance. You can do that with implements. And what I think we're seeing here after this event is that the playbook that has always been the playbook, people are starting to go back to chapter 1. The basics of gymnastics, things you have to learn. Fitness in 100 words. Pressing the handstand is in there. Pirouettes are in there. These are the things you went into open gym with your buddies. You're like, hey, let's play a game of horse, but with gymnastic skills. You see that with deficit handstand push-ups. You just stack up plates and everybody does one handstand push-up until you can't.
There's a delay right now because there's a discrepancy about a time from one of the athletes from the prior heats. They're getting that sorted out, but this is the group of men that will be out for the first heat. We're not going to change that. There's Justin Medeiros, who will be in the next heat. Austin Spencer, he and his wife Caroline, both competing here. 5th time a married couple has competed together at the CrossFit Games.
Stand by. All right.
2 strict pegboard ascents for the women. And it's Pat Vellner who's out front for the men, pardon me. Pat Vellner who's out front early. And Travis Mayer right there on the lead. Case Roman Krenikoff is there as well. As now both Vellner and Mayer are done.
Goes for lane number 8, Samuel Quant. Vellner, though. making his way up.
Adler struggling a little bit. What you see is you want to be a bit tighter in that, how he gets extended there. That's a tough position to be in for a strict pegboard.
Will Morad and Pat Vellner, the first two to the 50 double-unders. Again, these have to be unbroken. Sam Quant, Travis Mayer, and Roman Krennikov now onto the rope.
Krennikov also in the mix.
And most instinct would go to go as fast as you can. This is a race. Yes, this is a race. You do need to go as fast as you can. But 50 unbroken slow, it will be always faster than 50 unbroken with a few misses as fast as you can.
Morad and Vellner get through cleanly. They are onto the one-legged squats.
Single leg squats.
Vellner on the left, Morad is on the right.
The halfway marker. Roman getting no rep.
Roman Krennikov, Travis Mayer, and Sam Quant. Now here comes Austin Spencer.
Starts to inch
Brent Fikowski.
further and further from the pack.
He's going to have to finish at least in the top 5 here if he wants any shot of moving on. Fikowski towards the bottom of your screen. Remember, if they get a no rep for putting their foot down, losing their balance, they start back at 0. Here comes Colton Mertens as the last man onto the one-legged squats. Vellner is through. And Vellner onto the handstand walk. He's got to complete the pirouette now in the box. That is no problem for him. Here comes Will Morad. Sam Quant has moved into 3rd. And Travis Mayer is in 4th. But it's going to be Pat Vellner who's going to win this first semifinal heat. Will Morad will take 2nd. Sam Quant fell. And that leaves Roman Krennikov and Austin Spencer fighting for 3rd. Here comes Roman. Spencer is done.
Time of 2:25. Austin Spencer 2:26.
Now Jeff Adler will get across. And it's a sprint between Fikowski and Quant as Travis Mayer and Colton Mertens are still on the competition floor. Enrico Zanoni hasn't even gotten through his pegboard climbs yet. So Pat Vellner at 209.06 seconds. And Mertens trying to get in inside the time cap and doesn't look like he made it. But Pat Vellner by 6 seconds over Will Morad. Your top 5 out of that heat: Vellner, Morad, Krennikov, Spencer, and Adler. 2:37.70 seconds is the time that belongs to Adler. You got to beat that if you want to get into the top 5. Final heat here in this semifinal round. Noah Olson will be in lane number 1 at the far end of the floor. Had the fastest time in round 1.
He also had the most flawless run of the athletes in the quarterfinals for this event.
10 seconds. Athletes on your green start.
The thing for Noah is that if you can get that confidence going, you can get him in front of the crowd. That's a big thing for Noah Olson when it comes to competition.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. All eyes are on
2 strict pegboard climbs here. And so far it really hasn't been a problem for the majority of the athletes.
Noah Olson fumbling a bit with the peg. Now, if you have your feet, it's not a big deal, but no, that right hand had missed 3 as far as like placements.
Ricky Garrard in lane 7 in the leader's jersey is done. Medeiros is in 2nd place behind Ricky, 50 unbroken double-unders. And here comes Medeiros. 2:37.70 seconds. That's the 5th best time that belongs to Jeff Adler. You've got to beat that if you want to have a chance.
Again, the speed element here is being unbroken. For the things you're accustomed to in your own affiliate. You can hear your rope. The music's not pumping too loud. There's no crowd. There's no pressure. A lot of these little things have massive impacts on your ability to stay smooth on these movements.
Gerard gets through cleanly on the 50 double unders, and he is on to the 10 single leg squats. Got to start on the left leg. Here comes Medeiros in second. Jukic, Majeros, Nick Matthew, and Jonakoski are behind the two leaders right now as Koski and Matthew move on to the one-legged squats at the same time. Here comes Guy Majeros and Heinrich Kapelainen now in the back in the black shorts just off the pegboard. Noah Olsen is stuck on the pegboard, has yet to complete his two climbs, and Cole Sager at the other end of the floor has yet to get through his as well. Gerard is done. 2:09.06 seconds is the top time. That belongs to Pat Vellner, and Ricky Gerard looking to find himself in that group of final 5 athletes. Justin Medeiros sits in second. Now here comes Nick Matthew and Guy Majeros. So Ricky Gerard is going to take heat number 2, and Ricky Gerard, we will see you in the final. Here comes Justin Medeiros. He is in. Pat Vellner now has the 3rd best time. Majeros is across. And Nick Matthew. Jonakoski is in.
Looking for that top 5. Jonakoski getting it done in 2:16.
There's Lazar Jukic. Ricky Gerard and Justin Medeiros both beat Vellner's time, so the 3 of them will get in. Will Morad was second out of the last heat at 2:15.42 seconds. Majeros beat that, as did Nick Matthew.
Noah tapping out as far as trying to make the next climb, and honestly, where he's at, he's not getting another pegboard climb in that time. Another a smart move again. Day 1, 3 more days after. Well, no, 4, because we got action tomorrow now.
Event 2 that was supposed to be done today will be done tomorrow, as Ricky Gerard gets the heat win. And it looks like it's going to be Gerard, Medeiros, Majeros, Matthew, and Vellner.
Pat Vellner has some of the best upper body pulling strength and endurance in the field, and when you get him on his hands, he gets to lean into that gymnastics background and that ability to just move his body in space. Again, one of those key elements of the core methodology that is CrossFit. Noah Olsen is in it, that mistakes. First peg, second attempt, that just ended up breaking him. But Ricky Gerard, we talked about pressure getting to him. We know about the nerves that he had before Torium Pro. The win that he took in event 1, the nerves seemed to be gone. And with Ricky Gerard, when there was expectations of, how was he going to be received by the fans? How was he going to handle being back in the spotlight for the first time in nearly 5 years? This is a lot of momentum for Ricky Gerard so far.
While we await the official announcement of the 5 men who move on, let's go down to Mike Arsenault.
Of the sport with the pegboard in this event, and younger athletes taking the stage as older athletes end their competitive careers. There's still a lot of firepower, however, in the athlete warm-up area, as 3 former champions are coaching athletes, and at one point within 20 feet I saw Sam Briggs, Matt Frazier, and Ben Smith. So the history of the CrossFit Games is still very represented, well represented in the coaching ranks.
Thanks, Mike. So it is going to be Gerard, Medeiros, Vellner, Majeros, and Nick Matthew. As Matthew beats out Will Morad by 3 seconds to get inside the top 5.
The 2022 Noble CrossFit Games are sponsored by Trifecta, the official meal delivery partner of CrossFit. Noble, no excuses, no shortcuts, no gimmicks, no tomorrows. No bull. U.S. Army, what's your warrior? Thorne, the official supplement partner of CrossFit. And RP Strength, the official nutrition coaching platform of the 2022 Noble CrossFit Games.
We are down to the final 5. Winner take all here in event number 3 for the men. Glad you're with us, everybody, and what has been an exciting evening so far inside the Coliseum of the Alliant Energy Center. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. We have Mike Arsenault down on the competition floor. Final round of the skill speed medley presented by Yeti. The pegboard ascent is now down to 1, and we add in the double under crossover and the parallettes on the handstand walk.
Oh, we saw in the women's field that it was the crisscross over on these double unders, even though these press to handstand is looming. The one everybody wanted to practice when they had it announced, but the one that they should be is looking at this crisscross, and that's the adapt or die that we're talking about. Adapt to the situation given to you, or fall behind the rest of the pack. Unbroken is no longer in play for the crisscross. I mean, look at the movements on display in this event. If you want to fast forward to 2023, what is possible in a year from now with the tests that we're getting here in 2022?
There's Ricky Garrard, who was practicing that crossover during the break with a rope that he would traditionally use for double unders, but then went and switched it out.
Well, because
one he used for the single unders.
He couldn't get a single one in practice with his other rope. So he's bringing that one back out here.
There's Justin Medeiros, who is in 3rd place overall after the first event. Next to him, Pat Vellner, who finished 20th in event number 1, and Nick Matthew. Guimayeros also with that segmented rope.
Stand by.
One strict pegboard ascent, and then the portion
Justin Medeiros
point for the women is up next, and Medeiros slipping early.
He slipped early, and he lost the peg behind the pads. He had to go behind the plate and get it.
Garrard is done first. Here comes Pat Vellner. Has figured this out. Trying to be the first athlete we've seen get past this part of the event. And look at Nick Matthew, he's got 5 remaining. Ricky Garrard is struggling. Pat Vellner has started to string some reps together. Guimayeros is as well. And Guimayeros, I think, is trying to pay attention to what Matthew is doing. And Guimayeros is in 2nd place, and Matthew is through. Now on to the 10.
Somewhere in the crowd is a happy, smiling Adrian Bosman after what Nick Matthew just did with those crisscrossovers.
And Matthew almost lost his balance. He gets through the first 10 on the left leg, and now Medeiros is through. And Justin Medeiros trying to retake the overall lead from Ricky Garrard. There is Adrian Bosman, the competition director, on the left side of your screen. as Guy Majeros is through. Here comes Nick Matthew. Now he's got to start in a seated position and press to a handstand, walk across those parallels and get down the ramp, and that is no problem. And Nick Matthew has got to get across the yellow line, and Nick Matthew is going to win event number 3. Justin Medeiros is back on the handstand, and he can't get himself into a supported position. Guy Majeros and Pat Vellner have gotten through the double unders. 30 seconds to go as Majeros approaches the parallettes along with Medeiros. And there goes Guy. Medeiros can't get it pressed out yet. But Guy Majeros will take second. 10 seconds to go. Medeiros has finally got himself upright. Medeiros will take 3rd place in the event. Vellner will finish 4th, and it's Ricky Garrard in 5th. But how about Nick Matthew?
Man, you get your golden ticket in the most unconventional way ever. And Nick Matthew has been a handful of points outside the top 5 at semifinals 2 years in a row. Unbelievable.
And Nick Matthew, his first event win of his career at the CrossFit Games, and he gets to talk to Mike Arsenault.